When the first two busloads came, he should have said, welcome, go to the bathroom, get back on the bus, go back to Texas. You are not our problem.
What does he think of President Joe Biden? I guess we can start with.
¿Usted qué opina sobre el presidente Joe Biden y si él te hace sentir como bienvenido aquí en Estados Unidos?
Súper, sí, claro, sí, John Biden, claro que sí. Muy bien, está muy bien.
You know what? Yes, migrants are welcome here, but come in here the right way. Don't come here and say we owe you anything. We don't. They should come here to contribute to society, not to take.
Hey everybody, I am your host, Alad, and today I'm reporting to you from New York City, where the migrant crisis has come to a head. New York City itself is swamped, the intake facilities are swamped, and new migrant shelters are being built on the outskirts of the city. And that's where we are today. We're in Queens, New York City. Beside us are anti-migrant shelter protesters across the street from where a migrant shelter is being built, and about 1,000 adult males will be housed. Let's go talk to some of the folks, see what's going on. It says, wanted a new mayor, a new governor, must have common sense and love New York. I know we're at an anti-migrant shelter protest. Can you tell me a little bit more about your sign and why you came out?
Well, he built a migrant center directly opposite a preschool that's starting in 2 weeks. There are little children that can't protect themselves, that some of them are walking home by themselves. Who's going to protect them from these people? Upstate New York, there were women that were raped, and then the governor called in the National Guard to keep them at bay. Is this what he wants for our children? There's a high school up the block, about 4 blocks up. Those kids are up and down the sidewalk. Who's going to protect them? He doesn't care about the kids around here. There's another high school on the other side. He didn't take that into consideration.
Do you think that housing the migrants here comes at the expense of the safety of the children in the neighborhood?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. There's 100 other places he could have put the migrants. He didn't choose to do that. He did this. I think he was trying to screw over the community. That's all I think.
What do you think the response from the government should be to this migrant crisis that we're seeing?
Close the border.
Wow.
End of story. Yeah. Right? They think they can't do it. The last president did it. He closed the border. We didn't have this crisis. We didn't have to deport anybody. They have the border wide open, and it's putting everybody at risk.
How would you respond to somebody who says New York City, Ellis Island, it's supposed to be a welcoming city? It's a sanctuary city, legally obligated to house migrants that show up. How would you respond to somebody who says something like that?
You know what? Yes, migrants are welcome here, but come in here the right way. Don't come here and say we owe you anything. We don't. They should come here to contribute to society, not to take.
I had one last question I want to ask. This is a heavily immigrant community in and of itself. How would you respond to somebody who says it's hypocritical for people who are recent immigrants themselves to be rejecting new communities coming in?
Well, you know what? Everybody who comes here legally is very welcome. If you're coming here illegally and then you're claiming so much of the taxpayers' dollars that we're getting cuts in things like taking care of the veterans or taking care of our own homeless, it's not fair. Right? You're putting our own American citizens on the streets to take care of people who never contributed to this society.
How would you respond to an immigrant activist who says, you know, after you went up the ladder, you're pulling it up?
You know what? That's okay. They can say that. Why don't they take a few of them into their homes and shelter them? Right? Don't leave them on the taxpayers. Put them in your homes. If you feel so strongly about it, let them stay in your homes.
Thank you so much for your time. I hope it works out here. We're out here in Queens at an anti-migrant shelter protest. You have a sign that says
illegal aliens. These are not asylum seekers. These are illegal aliens. You look at this crowd. Most of the people who live in this neighborhood, they came from other countries. They came here legally. They did not come and say that we're entitled to be here, okay? Those people across the street, they should not be here. It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful that Eric Adams and Kathy Hochul stuck this in a residential neighborhood. Absolutely disgraceful. And you know what? They should be thrown out of office as quickly as possible.
Let me ask, how would you respond to something Eric Adams said, that you guys are legally required here to house the illegal immigrants as a result of being a sanctuary city?
I would say that when the first two busloads came, he should have said, welcome, go to the bathroom, get back on the bus, go back to Texas. You are not our problem. All this money that they are spending on the illegal aliens should have been spent on New Yorkers who pay taxes, on the poor, on the middle class. How many people are leaving New York because they just are sick and tired of this absolute nonsense?
Do you think
How much money is being spent? These police officers shouldn't be here. They got better things to do.
Can I ask, do you resent some Republican governors for busing in migrants, like from Texas or like Florida, I know has also been sending migrants? Do you resent any of these guys?
I don't resent them because they are responding to a problem that the federal government has washed their hands of. Okay? Shame on President Biden. Shame on him.
Say thank you, ask him his name, and then we could go from where he came from and go from there.
Primero que todo,
Sorry.
pues primero que todo, muchas gracias por tomar el tiempo para la entrevista. ¿Cómo se llama?
Mae,
Mai.
yeah.
¿De dónde viene?
Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. ¿Y usted cómo cruzaste de Nicaragua aquí?
No, pues por frontera,
¿Por la
Juárez.
frontera de México?
Sí.
¿Por cuál frontera?
Ciudad Juárez.
Ciudad Juárez.
Translate.
He's from Nicaragua. He crossed through Juarez, and his name's Mai.
Oh, nice. All right, so when he crossed, how'd it go following up there and up until the border, and then his experience once he crossed?
¿Qué era su experiencia cruzando desde Nicaragua por medio de México y cruzando los Estados Unidos?
Horrible, la verdad. Es una experiencia muy horrible, la verdad, pues no cualquiera se lo imagina. Ya cuando estamos acá, pues ya cualquiera te ve bien y todo, pero al venir a pasar todo ese sacrificio, no. Hambre, sueño, dormir en la calle, abuso de las demás personas. Sí, es algo horrible.
He said it was horrible. You know, a lot of people see them here now and think it's all good, but the actual journey itself, it's like very scary, very intimidating people, sleeping on the street, stuff like that.
How long did it take him to get there from there to here?
¿Cuánto demoró la procesa? O sea, cuando salió de Nicaragua para llegar y cruzar en la frontera en El Paso, ¿cuánto demoró ese?
22 días.
22 days.
Wow. He came from Nicaragua, right? Could you ask him a little bit more about what made him want to leave Nicaragua to take that scary, horrific trip?
¿Qué es lo que está pasando en Nicaragua que te hizo querer salir de Nicaragua a venir aquí a los Estados Unidos?
Más que todo es socialismo. El presidente de nosotros se está apoderando del país totalmente y no está dejando libertad de todo, libre expresión, no hay nada, trabajos. Si tú no lo apoyas a él, tú estás valiendo nada, no vales nada y puedes salir a otro país para remediar, que es algo, ayudar a su familia uno.
He said because of socialism, you know, the president they have in Nicaragua is like not very good. There's no opportunity, and if it's one of those situations where like if you don't support him, you're kind of screwed. There's no real upside.
Ask him how he's been treated since he's gotten to the United States, and has he been satisfied and whatnot?
¿A ti cómo te han tratado? Desde que usted llegó aquí a los Estados Unidos, ¿cómo te han tratado?
Pues, la verdad, pues he estado bien.
He said very good, in all truth.
How long has he been? Is this his first migrant shelter? When did he get here, and how has this migrant shelter been?
¿Cuánto tiempo usted está aquí en esta facilidad?
Un día.
He's only been here one day.
And how has it been so far?
¿Cómo son las condiciones adentro? ¿Cómo es?
Yo la veo muy bien, para estar en la calle está súper bien.
¿Repita?
En vez de estar en la calle, yo miro que está súper bien.
He said instead of being out in the street, it's way better. It's way good.
Is this his first migrant? When did he get to New York? Was he out on the streets before this?
¿Hace cuánto usted llegó a Nueva York? Antes de llegar aquí, ¿usted estaba en la calle?
8 meses.
8 months.
He's been on the streets in New York City for 8
¿Usted
months?
estaba en Nueva York por 8 meses?
Sí.
¿Y en la calle por 8 meses?
No.
Oh, just in the United States?
Just in New York for 8 months, but not in the streets, no.
Not in the streets? Where has he been for the past 8 months?
Entonces, los últimos 8 meses, ¿usted dónde se estaba quedando?
En un hotel.
Hotels.
Okay. There's protests happening as a result of the migrant centers here. Ask him what he makes of the protests against them staying here.
Aquí, pues allá al otro lado de la calle hay una manifestación de gente en contra de los migrantes aquí en esta área. ¿Usted qué opina sobre eso?
No, pues respetar su decisión de cada quien solamente. Respetarlo y ya. No. La verdad, pues respetarlo solamente.
Yeah, he says he understands, like he respects their opinion, but it's whatever. That's their opinion. They're entitled to it.
President Joe Biden, has he heard of President Joe Biden? Does he make him feel welcome or not? Or what does he think of President Joe Biden? I guess we can start with.
¿Usted qué opina sobre el presidente Joe Biden y si él te hace sentir como bienvenido aquí en Estados Unidos?
Súper, sí, claro, sí, John Biden, claro que sí. Muy bien, está muy bien.
He said, yeah, he does feel very welcome, so very good.
What does he like about Joe Biden? Is there something specific?
¿Hay algo específico que te cae bien de Joe Biden?
No, pues está apoyando mucho a los inmigrantes. Está dando más que todo el privilegio de estar en un país, de ayudarnos mutuamente. Porque para nosotros los inmigrantes, el estar acá, pues nos hace muy bien. No para nosotros, porque si tú me preguntas por mí, no, pues por mí no, sino por la familia. Porque al trabajar acá, nosotros podemos ayudar a nuestros familiares.
He said, yeah, Joe Biden's good because he's supporting, the immigrants, the migrants, and, allowing them to have a place to stay and stuff like that. And he said, as far as, the conditions, everything, for him, he's fine whichever way, but he appreciates that, there's support out there for, his family, so his family can do better.
Ask him if Joe Biden's support encouraged him to make the trek from Nicaragua.
El apoyo que tiene Joe Biden te dio ayudar en su decisión para navegar de aquí.
Sí, claro, mucho.
Yeah. Your sign says, "No tent city, save our children." Can you tell me a little bit more about your sign and why you came out?
Why? Because I live here in this neighborhood and I have a school right in front of me, front of our house. And it's an elementary school which these people can harm the kids, while fooling around in this area. And that's the reason we don't want this.
Do you think housing the migrants here comes at the expense of the safety of people in the neighborhood?
Of course,
can you tell me a little bit more about
that?
that?
Paying them with our tax money, Yeah, which we can do it for our Americans,
I know we've been swamped by the migrant crisis here in the city for some time. What do you think Mayor Adams' response should be?
It should be no to them, and we don't want Adam.
What does that mean? Busing them somewhere else? Because they are being sent here.
Wherever it's safe. Yeah, if they have brought them in, they can put them there, but not in this area where there are small kids, school, seniors, and then there's a YMCA and so many things,
I know many Democrats are saying that New York City is a sanctuary city and therefore by law required to house these migrants. How would you respond to Eric Adams saying that he has to house them and they're not a threat to the community?
I don't think so. I don't agree with his commitment.
We don't want 1,000 men in this community. They're going to be idle all day. What are they going to be doing? And they're not vented. We don't know if there's characters involved with these people in here, and we don't want them roaming around the streets. We already had problems with the clients at Creedmoor. To me, it's like a homeless shelter over there. 90-degree days, they're walking around with winter jackets on, so you can spot them right away. They walk up Union Turnpike or Hillside, and they go to the gas stations, the bus stops, and start begging. And for me, it's one thing, but for my wife and my daughter, you just saw the other day in the city on the subway, one of the beggars came up, he didn't like the answer and stabbed the guy. So we don't want that here.
Let me ask you, we are a sanctuary city here. We are being flooded with a migrant crisis. What do you think the city should do?
A lot of room in Montana and Wyoming, we're at our capacity. It's time for somebody else to take over. Yeah. Oh, and send them up to Buffalo Stadium so Hochul can have them in their backyard.
Let me ask, so you're kind of suggesting we bust them in Montana. I want to ask, I know we got a lot of our migrants from Greg Abbott in Texas. What do you think about some Republican governors kind of shipping them, making it your problem?
You know what? I don't blame Abbott because he's overloaded just like here. Adams should start doing the same thing. Or Hochul should be doing the same thing. We've reached our limit. It's time for him to go somewhere else.
It's like you want to do musical chairs with the migrants, so it seems like just ship them around to other states.
We don't have any more room. What are they going to put? Put them into the schoolyard next?
Let me ask, do you think helping the migrants with these migrant shelters comes at the expense of helping our homeless and helping our veterans and helping our elementary school students?
Yeah, well, look at the homeless shelters. They're getting filled up with the migrants from on the other side of the border. We're supposed to be helping our own homeless and veterans.
Absolutely. Sir, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
And you know what? Everybody here has the same opinion, but before you know it, 1,000 guys, what are they going to do all that? They're going to start roaming around. Desperate people do desperate things.
Buenas tardes. ¿Cuál es su nombre?
Mi nombre es José Bejarano,
¿De dónde viene?
de Colombia,
De Colombia. ¿En qué parte de Colombia?
de Villavicencio Meta.
Qué bueno. Cuando usted vino aquí, ¿usted cómo cruzó aquí? ¿Usted cómo llegó aquí a Estados Unidos?
Yo crucé por México.
¿Por México?
Sí, señor.
¿Por dónde México?
Can you translate as he's saying it?
He's saying he's Colombian and that he came from Mexico. Like he
Okay.
crossed through Mexico.
Okay, yeah. If you could ask him how the trip through
¿Cómo
Mexico.
cómo era el viaje, o sea, de venir de Colombia a México y ese viaje de cuando llegaste a México para cruzar los Estados Unidos?
Pues realmente el viaje en México, todo el mundo conoce que es supremamente difícil. Supremamente difícil. A mí me tocó dar mucho dinero. Mucho dinero y pasar por, o sea, sentirse un intimidado, ¿sí? Por la policía, por los grupos. Otras personas obviamente también nos extendieron la mano.
What do you say?
He said that to cross through Mexico it was very dangerous, it was expensive, and it's very intimidating because you have to worry about the police and other groups, and that obviously, you know, he had other people who gave him a helping hand.
And once he crossed the border, how did he get to New York now, and how was that
Entonces ya
trip?
cuando usted cruzó la frontera, ¿qué era lo siguiente? Ya después de cruzar la frontera, ¿cómo usted llegaste desde la frontera aquí a Nueva York?
Cuando cruzamos la frontera, pues ya estábamos en Del Paso, Texas. Viajamos a Denver. En Denver hay organizaciones que nos dieron los pasajes, nos ayudaron, nos dieron los hospedaje y los pasajes para irnos a las diferentes ciudades donde cada persona venía.
So he said he crossed through El Paso, and then from El Paso he got to Denver. And in Denver, there's like a few groups that help the migrants get passes, or help the migrants get travel to different places that they need to go.
How long has it taken him since there to get to here? About?
Desde que usted cruzó de México, ¿cuánto demoró de México a, pues, del Paso a Denver y de Denver aquí a Nueva York?
Alrededor de 5 días.
Like 5 days.
Wow. And ask him, since he's gotten to New York, he obviously is in the migrant center behind us. How's he been treated? How does he like how he's been treated?
Pues desde que usted llegó aquí a Nueva York, ya que te dan hospedaje aquí en estos centros de inmigrantes, ¿cómo son las condiciones aquí adentro y cómo te están tratando a ustedes?
Las condiciones en este lugar son un poco diferentes de donde venimos, pues estamos en un hotel. Pero aquí, la verdad nos han recibido bien también. Nos han ofrecido ayudas, medicina, médicos. Solo que las condiciones han cambiado un poco. Un poco.
So he's saying the conditions here are different than what they were before he was here, because before he was in a hotel. But over here, the conditions are very good. They offer food, medicine, things of that nature.
What made him want to make the trip from Colombia?
¿Por qué razón usted vino de Colombia aquí a Estados Unidos?
Porque la situación en mi país está muy difícil. En Colombia la corrupción, o sea, no tenemos muchas opciones para sobrevivir allá.
Sí.
¿Sí? No hay opciones de trabajo, no hay opciones, o sea, todo está supremamente caro, costoso. Y aparte los que no somos comunistas, ahorita hay un régimen izquierdista.
Sí, con Petro.
Con Petro, entonces tal vez es más difícil para nosotros.
He said it's very tough in Colombia because there's not a lot of upward mobility and there's a lot of corruption. And alongside of that, he said even though like he's not a communist, in Colombia there's a new president that was elected last year who he may not be communist, but he's very far left. Like he used to be in the guerrilla and part of like all those communist movements back in the day.
What does he think of Joe Biden? Does Joe Biden make him feel welcome?
¿Usted qué opina sobre el presidente Joe Biden, o si usted siente como el presidente Joe Biden y sus políticas te hacen sentir como bienvenido aquí en Estados Unidos?
Realmente no conozco muy bien qué piensa John Biden acerca de nosotros, pero yo más conozco lo que ofrece este estado al inmigrante. Entonces, por esas razones que me encuentro acá en Nueva York, pues, creo que es un santuario para el inmigrante, es una tierra de oportunidades.
He said he's not too sure what Joe Biden thinks of like the migrants, but he knows that here in New York, like migrants are welcome. It's a sanctuary city, and it's like a land of opportunity.
Yeah. On that here, we're going to ask one last question to him. What does he think of the protests happening as a result of the migrant center being set up here?
Bueno, entonces la última pregunta es ¿qué opinas sobre la gente aquí que están en contra de los migrantes que se están quedando en este centro?
Pues yo digo que realmente ellos están juzgándonos sin conocernos, que nosotros somos personas, o sea, iguales que ellos, ¿sí? Que tenemos familias, que por las situaciones de nuestros países tuvimos que emigrar a esta tierra de oportunidades, porque Estados Unidos, hay mucha gente ahorita, pero es una tierra de oportunidades, todos lo sabemos, y que podemos aportar también a esta sociedad.
So he was saying that, you know, those people are judging them without knowing them because they're just like them, like, you know, they have families and they want, you know, a better life for themselves, and it's not that they're not all here to cause harm. They actually want to like progress in this country and do the right thing.
Absolutely. Does he resent these people? Can we like follow up on like...
¿Se siente en un sentido como resentimiento sobre la gente que está en contra o...?
After he had to make this grueling trip and everything he's been to up until now.
O sea, como lo duro que era el viaje para usted llegar aquí, cuando llegas aquí, la gente local siente como resentimiento. ¿Usted tiene un sentido contra ellos o contra sus opiniones?
No, realmente no. Realmente no, porque yo también me pongo algunas veces en la situación de ellos, porque sé que hay muchas personas que han venido aquí y no han hecho las cosas correctamente como otros las hemos hecho. Entonces no... Digo que tal vez con el tiempo ellos se van dando cuenta, cuando vayan conociendo, ¿sí? En el momento que se les presente la oportunidad de conocer una persona como nosotros, un latino, se van a dar cuenta que no todos somos iguales.
We're out here today in Queens. Behind us, they're setting up tents for about 1,000 migrants to show up.
Yes.
You're protesting across the street. Your sign says, "Tents toxic to community." Can you tell me a little bit more about your sign and why you decided to come out?
Number one, you have a senior center across the street, SNAP. You have a public school right there. You have a Little League right there. No security. The security walking around is low level, meaning they just wear black shirt, black pants, that's it. What are they going to do? This is a community. This is not Randall's Island where you can do whatever you want. There's too many community. Where are they going to do? There's nothing for them to do. They stand around and walk around or take the train. There's not one bus here. It makes no sense.
There's definitely a migrant crisis in the city here. How do you think the city should respond to the migrant crisis that we're seeing here?
Not in New York, and if they do, send them to Floyd Bennett Field.
I know
That's 1,000 acres.
we are a sanctuary city here in New York City, therefore legally obligated to house these migrants. What would you say to Mayor Adams, who says, you know, that his hand is forced here?
Do something about it. Because unfortunately, we're the ones that are going to pay. The federal government's not giving them money. So who's going to pay all the money?
Mayor Adams has asked for federal funding. What do you think of his handling of the crisis so far?
He's not handling it. Him and the governor, they're not getting it. So why be a sanctuary city?
Do you think the migrants here are a threat to the community here
Well, go
next to the
back.
playground, next to the school here?
Blame de Blasio first. But then when Eric Adams came in, he should have changed the policy. Because when de Blasio was here, they weren't here yet. Eric Adams just followed along with it. He should have switched it. Because it's not fair to everybody here.
Do you believe that helping these migrants comes at the safety of the nearby playground, kids at the playground, or at the expense of our veterans or homeless here?
They're not coming into the country the correct way. Like my family, my grandparents, and everybody else. Do it the correct way, no problem.
How would you respond to cliches about, you know, Ellis Island, New York City is supposed to be so welcoming to immigrants, and, you know, New Yorkers should be more welcoming?
I couldn't answer that question. It's not affordable. I mean, government pays for it, no problem. Government's not paying for it, so it's going to come out of our pocket. Taxes are going to go up. New York's expensive enough right now, so someone's going to pay for it.